In this video, I'm going to go over our cold email tech stack that we use to drive more meetings for ourselves and our clients as of October 2024. Now, it is essential to stay on top of your cold email deliverability these days to ensure long-lasting campaigns that bring in more meetings and, as a result, sales and revenue for your business. So without further ado, let's get on to the good stuff. Okay, so in front of us, we essentially have all the softwares that we're going to be going through, and we're going to be following a structured workflow where we start with the domains that we're going to be purchasing from, so the domain providers, and then we're going to end up with the actual CRM and lead tracking. So if we begin, in the beginning, we're going to see that we have the domains. So we use Porkbun and GoDaddy. We haven't had any issues with both of these providers, and we have not experienced any differences between each of them. So I would recommend diversifying and trying both of them. And after you've done and bought your domains from these providers, then what you would want to do is create the inbox infrastructure. So you would use Gmail and Outlook. I would do an even split, so 50-50. If you're setting up, let's say, 40 email accounts, then you want to do 20 Gmail inboxes and 20 Outlook inboxes. These you could do manually. However, it takes a lot of time to set up all the settings correctly. That would be the DNS settings and the inbox specific settings. So what I would do in this case is I would buy them from a reseller. So two resellers you could use on top of my mind are Premium Inboxes, and then you have also ColdSire. Now, Premium Inboxes, they only resell Gmail accounts, and then if you want to set up also Outlook and you don't want to do the manual setup yourself, then you could pay ColdSire to do that for you. Now, once you've set these email accounts yourself, these inboxes yourself, or you've taken the other route of resellers, then obviously you need to upload them to your sending platform, which is going to be SmartLead. And then we're going to enable the warm up for the 2 weeks period so we can gradually increase the volume once we're ready to launch our campaign. Now, once that's set up, you continue to the next step, which is the databases. So you need to get the leads from somewhere. And if you've already done the technical infrastructure setup, so that will be the domains, infrastructure, and sending platform, then what you need to do is go on databases that your leads are. Now, for every market, this could be different, but from what we've seen working with various industries is that these three databases are a good starting point in general. So you have Apollo, Crunchbase, and Sales Navigator. And what you want to do is define your ICP beforehand. So you have your criteria of the people you want to approach. And then you go into each of these platforms and you basically check how many leads exist. Apollo has the most amount, but then some of these accounts are not active. Crunchbase is better and Sales Navigator is better. But you could use Apollo as a reference to assess your total addressable market at first. Now, once you've established and basically built the lead lists that you want to scrape, you have two alternatives. So you either do that manually yourself, where you use the native platforms, but that could turn out to be expensive, as Apollo, Crunchbase, and Sales Navigator are pretty expensive to use and scrape leads from. So this is where we can use alternative methods. And some of the methods that I've outlined here for lead scraping, we have Export Apollo, which is Apollo specific. So they basically scrape the whole list. What you have to do is just provide them with the URL of the search. So once you do the Apollo search, you're going to end up with a long URL that contains all your filters inside. You want to provide that URL to Export Apollo, and then they're going to handle the rest and scrape these leads and return a CSV file. Now, we have also Find a Lead that we have been using, and they're good because they essentially allow to scrape all these three platforms simultaneously. So if you have a list on Apollo, you can use Find a Lead. If you have Crunchbase, you can use them. You can use them as well for Sales Navigator. And you should check their rates. The rate depends on the amount of leads that you scrape, but it would always turn out to be cheaper than scraping natively on any of these platforms. The third option is to find a VA who can do this on your behalf. So platforms like Upwork are great places to find talent who basically hold people that have this skill set and can scrape leads from essentially any platform. So if you don't want to go on the route where you use these platforms to scrape leads for you, you could use a VA who's talented, but that's going to cost more money as it takes more of their time. These two alternatives, as I mentioned, they are way cheaper than actually scraping the leads natively from any of these databases. So I would always follow this workflow where we basically get the databases, we check these places to verify and assess our total addressable market. And then once we've done the search and we've built the list, we go into any of these platforms and they do the work for us. Awesome. And now what do you do with this lead list? Now, well, you should always verify your lists. So if you have them from Apollo, especially from Apollo, even Crunchbase or Sales Navigator, some of these email addresses that you get are not going to be active anymore. They're going to be catch-alls, they're going to be gray listed, and you can get into trouble by sending emails to them because your emails just won't go through, and that's going to affect the bounce rates, and the bounce rates are going to affect your overall domain health. So in that case, you need to use verification software. And the three that I recommend are Dbounce, Million Verifier, and Find Email. All of these three platforms are great. The best results I've personally experienced are on Million Verifier, but you could choose any of them. And again, their rates are determined by the amount of leads that you request to be verified. Now, I also have to mention this since our next step is enrichment and personalization. You can do all of this in Clay. So you could build the whole list, verify the whole list in Clay without having to go through these steps. But this is the workflow when you're beginning. I would recommend just going with this workflow to get familiar with the process itself. So the main idea here with this kind of approach is that you get your list from databases, you have someone scrape them for you, you verify this list so you only send to active email addresses, and then once you have the verified CSV of the leads you want to contact, you upload that to Clay, and then you create a Clay table where you begin enriching only these active leads that you got. Now, when it comes to enrichment and personalizations, the amount of things you can do on Clay are essentially endless. So imagine Clay as a Google Sheet with endless APIs, and it can connect to almost any software and any of these providers as well. In Clay, you can do multiple enrichments from their LinkedIn profile, company data. So there's a lot of things you can extract only from these two sources. Then you could take this data and feed it to ChatGPT through the OpenAI API that you have, and Clay allows to essentially do that in the platform itself, where you could create first line openers, custom CTAs, custom proposals even that resonate with your audience because you've gathered their data beforehand. Great. And once you're happy and you're content with your enrichments and the personalizations you've done in Clay, then you want to send these leads to Smart Lead. You could also use Instantly, but I personally prefer Smart Lead because it's more flexible and it looks more professional. Once you upload the list to Smart Lead, then you can essentially start sending. So remember, you would have wanted to have 2 weeks pass since you built the infrastructure and upload the accounts to Smartlead, just to have enough time to experience that gradual warm up and have your accounts ready for the first initial test campaigns. Obviously, as you can see, you have a lot to occupy yourself in the meantime. And what I haven't included here is also the copywriting, but we don't have a specific tool for that because you just literally use your mind, and you can also use ChatGPT for ideas. However, the tech stack behind is essentially all these steps we went through. And we've ended up launching the campaign on Smartlead. And once we've done that, then we start getting results. Now, what you need to be doing constantly, especially in this day and age, is you need to track your deliverability at all times. So Mail Meteor allows you to track that, and Mail Meteor also allows you to track whether you have spam triggers in your email. So before you even launch a campaign, you can take the copy that you have, import it into Mail Meteor's spam checker, and check whether you have any words that might trigger spam filters. You want to remove all of them. So that's that. And then you have MX Toolbox, which allows you also to check your domain health and general health when it comes to domains and inboxes. So the good thing about Smartlead is that you can connect it with a lot of automation software. So you have Zapier, Make, and obviously Calendly, which allows you to essentially get these meetings in and have it all automated. So when someone books a meeting or send your link from Calendly, then it goes into the platform, and Calendly could send that to your CRM where you're going to track the leads. Now, when it comes to Zapier and Make, their specific purpose in this case would be to take the leads that are interested and put them in your CRM so you can put them in other flows. You could also do this natively in Smartlead via subsequences, but once they've booked a meeting, I would rather take them off the platform and have our own nurturing process in place. And you can have that in HubSpot. You can track them in Pipedrive. I don't have any specific preference here. I just see a lot of the software companies you work with, they're already on HubSpot. And again, Pipedrive is pretty popular as well. Whatever CRM of choices, definitely have it in place because you want to track all these leads and actually see the fruits of this process. If you don't track these leads, then they might get lost in the mix, and then all of this was for nothing. So yeah, thank you for watching this short video. I hope this was useful because these would be the technologies I would use if I was just starting out, and I believe they can help you have the best results and deliverability. You always need to have this process in mind when you're before you launch a campaign, to ensure that you don't waste the accounts you created, because then again you have to churn these accounts every 2-3 weeks. And if you build this reliable system in place, this workflow in place, then you can send emails for longer and to more people without having the issues. Test out whether you have a great idea or not, see how the market reacts to it, and book more meetings. That's it for me. Have a good one.